Good evening. Thank you, everybody. I was glad to finally be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm Chris Vanstone from the Australian Centre for Social Innovation, and we exist to tackle some of those really knotty social challenges that could help us lead to greater economic and social prosperity for all. So at the moment we're focusing our work in three areas. In breaking cycles of disadvantage and increasing opportunities for advantage, in building people's capabilities and families and individuals to manage their own health and the sort of conditions that could allow that to happen, and in working with all kinds of organisations and older people to help all of us reinvent how we live as we age in Australia. So a really broad range of work, crossing from sort of practice and services to commissioning and policy, but all your points taken. I'm going to share, let's kick this off. Is codesign the silver bullet? This is a hand drill. Why would you buy a hand drill?
To make a hole.
To make a hole, and why would you make a hole?
Because you need a hole to
Put something in it. Put a screw.
Put in a screw?
Yeah.
Good. Why would you put a screw in?
To hang something.
To hang something. Wow, this is the best one. This has never worked so well. So this is like hang something to put up a picture, right? So what's important when you put up a picture?
If you like it.
That you like the picture, good point, yes. Stays there. You want it to be easy, you want it to be quick, you probably don't want it to cost a whole bunch of money. And when you understand sort of that job to be done with respect to hanging a picture, you can compete with the $200 hand drill with, these fancy sticky hooks. That's because you understand the job to be done. So this is just, one of those hokey sort of stories designers tell about sort of thinking beyond our assumptions, trying to understand. Is that a question?
No, I just want to make a point that the tension exists between where you want to, because you want the picture to look good, you want
Yes.
it in the right place, but actually your studs are here.
Oh, yes.
And so I think that's one of the tensions between what the community might want and what government might want.
That's brilliant. Yes. Wow. 600 centres. Yes. Wow. Thank you. This is even deeper than I thought. This is going really well. Yes, you can compete with this quite expensive, noisy, loud thing with this quite cheap thing, depending on your humidity levels and the temperatures where you live. So it's one of those stories we tell ourselves to get people to think beyond solutions, to kind of check their assumptions. If we can understand what people value, the job to be done, then we can really, and there's lots of different things to call that, but you can really understand what it is that we need to design. And so, oh, not yet.
Sorry.
It's all right, no, other way. Don't give away my punchline. Thanks, James. And so, back in December, I was working with the Sydney taxi team. We're all sitting at the back, ready to escape when I start talking. And we were doing one of our change summits. So this is something we do every 6 months in each of our three teams to sort of review the impacts we've had, name our most significant impacts. They get logged on an impact register, they get reported to our board. But perhaps more importantly, we look at what did we learn from the projects that we've been doing. In this case, it was the projects that the Sydney team have been doing over their first year. And we reflected on a number of things. We recognised that lots of projects, it wasn't enough to, just because we'd started a project, to assume that that project had the continued right to exist. That quite often in organisations something would change, quite often in government organisations something would change, and all of a sudden a project you thought had the authorising environment around it didn't. I see lots of nodding heads here. It's never happened to you, right? Also, we recognised and sort of made a note to ourselves to sort of always check that just because an organisation's asked for something, now we know people don't always know what to ask for, or kind of we need to reshape the brief and all that stuff, but just because people have asked for it doesn't mean that it's coherent with their organisation. And we recognised a lot of people had asked for kinds of work and even quite expensive bits of work that the organisation just wasn't set up to support. And when you saw it from another lens, you're like, why would they ever do this? And so, that helped us to think about, really what is the job to be done when it comes to public sector innovation. So I'm going to, I think, keep on that track that Emma got us on and dig in a slightly different way into it. And talk about the job to be done with regards to public sector innovation. Next slide. So I'm going to need some volunteers. You guys are at the front, are really lucky because of this. Emma. So let's. No, this is May now. Hold it up. So you need to stand in the middle here. So this is May. She's going to be representative of public servant within our little service system that we're about to build here. I'm going to use this to sort of illustrate the job to be done when it comes to public sector innovation. So we're going to be quick about this, David. Congratulations. You're the boss, Penelope. Hey. Boss is boss. There you go, Petra. You're up next. We'll leave out, there's a boss here, but you can just jump straight to the top. You can be the minister here. Okay. And then, so these are all the people sort of inside of the government side of things, if you like. I need a couple more folks out here. Oh, boss, great. Can you go here? Sure. So this is a hierarchy. Okay, thank you. Would you like to come up?
Do you want me to stand a bit lower
No.
for the hierarchy?
So Eva here is in charge of commissioning within this. Let's say this is a sort of human service system, and we need a service provider. Sir, would you be our service provider? Who's missing?
We haven't got any of the participants.
No participants. No, we haven't got to them yet. We've got a frontline worker. Sir, would you be our frontline worker? Okay. Jack, who wants to be Jack? Jack, could you be Jack?
I'll be Jack.
Jack, you're a real person, Jack. So what's the so there's lots of different kinds of jobs to be done here. So maybe this is May's first. Typically, it's quite common. It wouldn't be uncommon for this to be the first time that these guys have done any of this sort of co-design or design-based activity. So not only so May here, you can see she's very enthusiastic, but also a little trepidatious. She hasn't done it before. And her boss, well, he's watching her closely. Because he really doesn't want to mess up. Nor does her boss's boss. And the minister, well, on one side, this could be really good, because this is all about working with people, and people vote. Some of them. And, all of them here, right? People vote, but also they're going to be talking to people, Minister, and they might say things, and there might be a report that says some things that don't work, and there's talk about it going public. So May here sort of got the job, and the bosses to kind of create the conditions for all of this stuff to happen. Well, how are you feeling about it? And then we start to look outside of government in this little service system here. So we've got commissioning, who will sort of design the contracting and all of that sort of. Is this minutes left or minutes to? Minutes left. Okay, great. Speed sped up. It was the other way around. Okay, so this is commissioning, and it's going to make the contracts and the money work for the service providers here, who are going to deliver the services, and there's management with the tie, and a frontline worker here on the button collar. And all of a sudden, and at the end of the line here, we've got, in this little line, we've got Jack, our person with lived experience of sort of whatever service this might be. How are you feeling?
Oh, a bit trepidatious.
A bit trepidatious too, yeah. Yeah. What if we exposed? Did you know that all of this stuff even existed?
No, didn't know about any of it. It's a bit scary.
It's a bit scary, isn't it? It looks quite scary. And so co-design gives us there's lots of different jobs to be done here. So co-design does provide a bit of a useful tool set to start to develop new kinds to bring different ideas out here, to understand the situation at all of these different levels, to start to build towards new solutions, all of that great stuff that David and Emma talked about. But there's also lots of other jobs to be done here. So if you just think about the innovation job, so co-design can help us get started, prototyping, all of that sort of stuff. But then we've got to implement these things. So Commissioner, you're going to have to implement stuff across this massive service system here, and you're going to need a whole set of tools to do that. And sort of that co-design stuff doesn't really give us particular ways or methods to do that. Boss's boss, you're going to be looking for some evidence here, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to write a study for the Minister to read.
You're going to enjoy
Be able
studying from the
to-
Minister's room. And what kind of study do you like, Minister?
Easy, that I can understand.
That you can
I
understand.
can talk about a lot in the media.
Talking
Yeah.
And people,
Yeah.
people think
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. And based on evidence, and so and co-design doesn't necessarily have tools for all that evaluation and piloting and trialing stuff. So co-design is good for like half that innovation job. And what's more, there's lots of different stuff that we need to design along here. So Jack may well be using some websites or products and things like that, but we've got to design this guy's practice. So what are our tools for designing practice? Service design we know a little bit about. Design of commissioning systems, that's a kind of different kind of thing that we need to design. And then Emma's been talking about design of policy and all of that stuff that sort of fits somewhere up here. And then there's design of the political narrative as well, of course, because this minister here could easily throw a big football into the mix down here. So there's all of those, that's just the innovation jobs, and there's the influencing jobs. So these guys are still looking a bit uncertain about whether this is going to work or not, so we've got to kind of take people along this. May here, this is the first time she's done it, she's got to deliver a result, but we've got to build her capability along the way. And so it's a learning job that we've got to do. So there's lots of different kinds of jobs that we've got to deliver on if we're going to make co-design type work effective and get outcomes for people in this little service system here. Thank the service system. Thank you. Or isn't it that we started with this military metaphor about good social things, the silver bullet, killing machines to put co-design into action? Really, it's as I said, it's an inappropriate metaphor. It's not about, really, we shouldn't be talking about bullets in this kind of context. What we should be talking about is cluster bombs. Co-design is definitely, whilst it's not the silver bullet, I think it's definitely part of the cluster bomb. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. So we're going to break for 5-10 minutes. If you want to go fill your glasses, have a drink, just say hi to each other, and then we'll reconvene for the panel. Have a think about some questions as well, some hairy questions.